Imagine an alien spacecraft lands on Earth, say, 5,000 years from now.
Okay, setting the scene. I like it.
Right. So they touch down, and they immediately start digging through the remnants of our world. They uncover the rusted-out shells of, like, massive server farms in the desert.
Oh, wow.
They pull up faded, synthetic fragments of national flags, ancient currencies with faces stamped on them, and, the crumbling marble of our political institutions.
A whole archaeological package.
Exactly. And the question is, what story would they tell about us when they look at all that evidence?
That is a really interesting question.
Would they see hundreds of fiercely divided, separate nations, each aggressively pursuing their own agendas? Or, from their vantage point, would they realize that despite all the borders and the different colored passports, we were all actually participating in one massive shared experiment called human civilization?
I mean, it is a profound way to reframe our existence. Because, we spend so much of our daily lives agonizing over the micromechanics of society.
Yeah, totally. The day-to-day stuff.
Right, the next election, the next economic quarter, we very rarely zoom out to look at the overall machinery of it all.
And analyzing our own civilization is incredibly difficult. It's a lot like trying to clearly see the shape of the room you are currently standing in.
Because you're in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't evaluate the architecture of the space because you are completely surrounded by the walls, the floor, the ceiling. You were born inside it, so you accept it as reality.
It's just the water we swim in.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this because our mission for today's deep dive is to basically step outside of that room with you.
Which is not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. But we're looking at this fascinating stack of notes that proposes viewing human civilization not as this finished, polished achievement, but as a messy, ongoing experiment.
A work in progress, essentially.
Right. And we want to understand why societies get stuck repeating the exact same historical mistakes over and over, and how shifting our mindset could fundamentally alter our future.
Well, to do that, we have to maintain that macro perspective of the alien archaeologist you mentioned.
The 10,000-foot view.
Exactly. Because when you look at the broad sweep of human history from that kind of distance, you begin to see the exact same patterns playing out across completely different cultures, separated by oceans and, centuries.
It's like we're running the same script.
We really are.
Yeah.
The source material points out that every civilization begins with a fundamental sense of hope.
Like that initial spark of cooperation, right?
Yes, exactly.
People gathering together because the wilderness is dangerous and they're figuring out how to grow food, sharing knowledge just to survive.
Precisely. And from that basic survival instinct, complexity grows. Rules are created to govern how people interact.
Because you need organization once there's enough people.
Right. Institutions emerge to manage the growing populations. You see cities expand, trade routes connect continents, science advances, and art flourishes.
It sounds great, like a golden age.
It does. For a while, it looks like an unbroken upward trajectory of progress. But eventually, invariably, the cycle turns.
The honeymoon phase ends.
It always does. Power begins to concentrate into fewer and fewer hands. Wealth accumulates unevenly, which creates this massive stratification.
Right, the gap between the rich and the poor.
Exactly. And the very institutions that were originally built to serve and protect the people become overwhelmingly complex, bureaucratic, and ultimately self-serving.
They stop working for the people who built them.
Yes. Trust in the shared system weakens. People begin to fracture and argue over their shared identity. You see populist leaders promising radical change, fringier movements emerging, and the old establishment fiercely resisting.
Wow, that sounds incredibly familiar.
Doesn't it? Ultimately, the system buckles. What's fascinating here is we often view these cyclical breakdowns as specific political or economic failures of a given era.
Like, oh, that was just the Romans, or that was just the Bronze Age collapse.
Right. But the source material suggests they are actually symptoms of a much deeper shared human condition.
Okay, wait, I understand the pattern, but that paints an incredibly bleak picture.
Yeah.
Like, is this just natural human greed?
Well, it's more complicated than just greed.
Because if it's a shared human condition, are we just doomed to this boom and bust cycle forever? I mean, when you describe that trajectory, it sounds exactly like what happens in the corporate world.
How do you mean?
Think about, like, a nimble startup company. It begins with this massive hope and cooperation. A few people in a garage, sharing knowledge, moving fast.
Ah, right. The scrappy underdog.
Exactly. But as it grows into a global entity, It eventually becomes this bloated, bureaucratic corporation where nobody trusts management, the departments are siloed, and nothing gets done. Are sheer size and complexity to blame for this cycle?
It's a great analogy. Size and complexity certainly act as catalysts. They accelerate the breakdown, but they aren't the root cause.
Okay, because I buy the startup analogy to a point, but a corporation isn't a country.
No, it's very different.
Right. If I get fed up with a toxic corporate culture, I can just hand in my 2 weeks notice and go work somewhere else. I can't easily quit my civilization.
You're stuck in it.
Yeah. I still have to pay taxes. I still have to obey the laws. I am fundamentally bound to the system. Doesn't that inability to leave change the psychology entirely?
It changes it completely, which is exactly where the source material takes us next. The text argues that civilizations are not just technological or logistical systems.
Okay, what are they then?
They are, at their absolute core, psychological systems.
Psychological systems.
Yes, every single institution, every financial market, every legal framework, they are all ultimately shaped by and constrained by the human mind.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right, so the reason we are trapped in these cycles isn't just because of bad policies, it's because of our biology.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the notes shift here from history directly into the literal neuroscience of the status quo.
Yes, and it really comes down to energy conservation.
Like saving calories.
Exactly. The human brain is a remarkably energy-intensive organ. Despite being a really small percentage of our body weight, it consumes roughly 20% of our daily caloric intake.
That is a huge amount of energy for one organ.
It is. So because of this immense metabolic cost, the brain has evolved to be incredibly efficient. It relies on a region called the basal ganglia to automate familiar patterns and habits.
To save fuel.
Right. Essentially, the basal ganglia automates the status quo. It allows you to navigate your daily life, your societal norms, and your deeply held beliefs without having to actively think about them.
It's the brain's autopilot.
Exactly, the autopilot.
Wow.
Now, to question an inherited assumption, to actually stop and ask, wait, is this economic system fair? Or does this institution actually serve us?
You have to turn off the autopilot.
You do.
Yeah.
Your brain has to shift gears. It has to engage the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for complex analytical thought.
And I'm guessing that takes more energy.
A lot more. Engaging the prefrontal cortex requires a significant amount of metabolic effort.
Wait, so it is literally neurologically expensive to change your mind? It burns actual calories to question the world around you.
Yes, it really does.
That is wild. It's like questioning tradition isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's a physical workout.
Yeah.
It's like forcing your brain to run a marathon when it just wants to sit on the couch.
That's a perfect way to put it.
I mean, how often do you, and I mean you listening right now, how often do you feel physically exhausted just trying to rethink a core belief?
Probably more often than we realize.
Yeah.
And it goes even deeper than just burning calories.
Really?
Yeah. The text points out that absolute certainty actually shuts down a part of the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex.
Okay, what does that part do?
This region is heavily involved in error detection, cognitive flexibility, and evaluating alternative perspectives.
Wow.
So when you are absolutely certain that your way of life or your political system or your worldview is the only correct way, your brain literally powers down the hardware required to see alternatives.
That explains so much about how we argue.
Doesn't it?
When you challenge someone's core societal belief, you aren't just presenting them with a new piece of information. From a biological standpoint, you are forcing their brain to do grueling physical labor.
You are. And furthermore, the brain often interprets that challenge to its core beliefs not as an intellectual debate, but as a physical threat.
Like you're being attacked.
Exactly. This is cognitive dissonance at work. When a deeply held assumption about how the world works is threatened, the brain's amygdala, the fear center, can trigger a fight-or-flight response.
So your body literally panics.
Yes. The body releases cortisol. The heart rate elevates.
Which perfectly explains why political or structural debates around the dinner table get so incredibly heated.
Yes, the infamous Thanksgiving dinner debates.
Right. The brain is reacting as if a predator just walked into the dining room. It's not just stubbornness. It's a biological defense mechanism protecting the caloric efficiency of the status quo.
It is a profound realization. If we synthesize what this means for society at large, we realize that a civilization cannot become wiser unless the people creating it also become wiser.
Because the system is made of us.
Exactly. The structural resistance to change that we see in our governments and our institutions is just a macro reflection of the hardwired neurology inside our own skulls. We are fighting our own biology when we try to improve society.
Okay, so if we are fighting this massive biological uphill battle where our brains just want to conserve energy and reject change, how has humanity managed to invent its way out of the caves?
What question?
Right, because we are incredibly smart primates. We have created miraculous tools. Why hasn't our technology solved this boom and bust cycle of civilization?
Well, because we often confuse engineering progress with societal progress.
Oh, that's an important distinction.
Very important. Technology is frequently held up as our ultimate savior, and it is undeniably powerful. As the text notes, technology can build massive suspension bridges, it can develop life-saving vaccines in a matter of months,
It can map the human genome, put rovers on Mars.
all of that. But there is a hard limit to what it can achieve. Technology cannot solve human problems.
Because technology is just a tool. I mean, a supercomputer can process billions of data points a second, but it doesn't have a philosophy.
Correct. Technology cannot answer questions like, how should power be distributed in a society?
Right. An algorithm can't tell you what's fair.
Exactly. What makes a justice system truly fair? How do we balance individual freedom with collective responsibility? How do we encourage large-scale cooperation without crushing individuality?
These are the messy things.
Yeah, these are not engineering problems that can be solved with a better algorithm, a faster microchip, or a more efficient supply chain. They are purely human problems requiring human wisdom and negotiation.
Which brings us to a concept in the notes called the blank slate theory, which completely reframes how we look at those human problems.
Yes, this part is crucial.
The idea is that every single generation is born into a civilization that they did not choose. We inherit a world that is already built.
Yes, you are born into a pre-existing web of laws, economic systems, social hierarchies, and cultural expectations that were largely designed by people who are no longer alive.
So, what does this all mean? Let me give you an analogy to picture this. Inheriting a civilization is like moving into a fully furnished rental house.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
But the landlord tells you that you are absolutely not allowed to move any of the furniture, even if there is a giant, incredibly ugly couch completely blocking the front door, and every single day you have to awkwardly squeeze past it just to leave the house. You can't move it.
That sounds incredibly frustrating.
Right, but you can't move it because, well, that's just where the couch goes. It's always been there. The structure was set before you arrived, and you are expected to just live around it.
And historically, those inherited systems, those heavy couches, have been heavily shielded from any kind of questioning.
People really don't like it when you try to move the couch.
No, they don't. The source material points out that throughout history, various belief systems have actively protected the status quo by framing the existing order as divinely ordained.
Right, the concept of the divine right of kings or the mandate of heaven.
Exactly. Phrases like, the powers that be are ordained by God, have been used across countless centuries and cultures to protect human creations.
Like what kind of creations?
Things like rigid social hierarchies, economic disparity, or concentrated political power. It protects them from necessary human scrutiny.
Because if it's from God, you can't argue with it.
Precisely. By elevating a flawed, human-made system to an untouchable divine status, society effectively builds a fortress around it. It completely shuts down the prefrontal cortex's ability to question it, because questioning it is no longer just a matter of policy, it becomes a moral failing.
It's the ultimate trump card to stop people from moving the furniture. If the couch was placed there by the universe itself, you don't dare touch it.
You just learn to squeeze past it forever.
So how do we break free from this? How does humanity wake up from the illusion that these societal structures are permanent or, divine?
If we connect this back to the bigger picture, we have to start with humility. We have to recognize that throughout history, many generations deeply believe they had finally discovered the ultimate answer to society's problems.
They thought they had reached the finish line.
Right. The Romans believed their republic was the perfect, permanent balance of power, right up until it collapsed into empire.
Oops.
Yeah. The interconnected powers of the Bronze Age thought their globalized trade network was invincible, right up until it shattered. History remains surprisingly humble, always delivering unexpected consequences and new challenges.
So we shouldn't assume we've got it all figured out either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To break free, we have to start treating institutions strictly as human inventions. They are not permanent fixtures of the cosmos. They are tools created by people. And if they are tools created by people, they can be redesigned by people.
Which brings us to the solution proposed by the source material.
Right. The way forward.
we've established the problem. We are inheriting these rigid, fully furnished houses, and we are biologically wired to just accept where the furniture is placed because our brains want to save energy.
A tough spot to be in.
Definitely. So, how do we redesign the room? The source says we need to fundamentally change our approach and treat society the way we treat science.
The text makes a compelling argument that certainty, the rigid belief that questioning the current system is dangerous, is actually the single greatest obstacle to human progress.
Certainty is the enemy of progress.
Yes, doubt is not a weakness. Questioning is the engine of advancement. The scientific method of observing, hypothesizing, and questioning is what built modern medicine.
Right.
It's what revealed gravity. It's what mapped the genome and expanded human rights. The sources argue we need to apply that exact same scientific rigor to our civilization.
So instead of operating from a defensive posture, asking, how do we defend our current system from criticism, we need to shift our mindset entirely and ask, what is the data telling us? What evidence suggests our system could improve?
Precisely. The source draws a direct parallel here to evolutionary adaptation.
Like Darwinian evolution.
Exactly. Evolution teaches us that nature never begins from a blank slate. It never starts from nothing. It takes what is already there, the existing DNA, the existing traits, and it modifies them based on the environment.
It works with what it has.
Yes, it adapts, it refines, it keeps the biological mechanisms that work beautifully, and it gradually changes or phases out the ones that no longer serve the organism's survival.
So we should do that with society.
Right. The goal for society shouldn't be endless, blind adherence to tradition, nor should it be endless destructive revolution. The goal is thoughtful, evidence-based adaptation.
No, I have to play devil's advocate here because the idea of constantly treating society as a grand scientific experiment sounds terrifying to a lot of people.
Oh, sure, it sounds incredibly risky.
Doesn't constant questioning and constant change lead to total instability? I mean, if we apply the scientific method to our laws and institutions, isn't that like trying to rewrite a computer's operating system while the computer's still turned on and running all your essential programs?
That's a great visual.
If we are constantly experimenting with the economy and the legal system, don't we risk completely crashing the entire machine?
This raises a critical point, and it perfectly articulates the fear that keeps us locked in the cycle. But the distinction the text makes is crucial here. Treating civilization as an experiment does not mean advocating for destroying everything that came before.
Okay, so it's not about tearing it all down.
No, because that is the definition of revolution, which, as you pointed out, usually leads to a system crash. The French Revolution, for instance, scrapped the entire calendar, the legal system, the social order all at once, and it resulted in massive instability and violence.
Right, they threw out the whole operating system.
Exactly. Just like biological evolution doesn't destroy the organism in order to improve it, societal evolution requires us to carefully preserve the stability of what works, while being courageous enough to change what doesn't.
You don't format the hard drive, you patch the bugs.
Yes, you release an update to the software to handle a new environment. It's about maintaining structural integrity while having the humility to admit when a system is failing, and the curiosity to observe the evidence and try a new approach.
That makes perfect sense. It's an iterative process, not a destructive one. It's about carefully swapping out the ugly couch without burning down the entire house.
Exactly.
So to bring this all together, let's quickly recap the journey we've taken today. We started by zooming way out, looking at the ruins of our world through the eyes of an alien archaeologist, recognizing the repeating cycles of boom and bust throughout history.
The big picture.
Right. We then dove inward, right into our own neurology, to discover that we are living inside an inherited psychological system. We are constantly battling our own basal ganglia's biological desire for certainty and energy conservation, which makes change literally exhausting.
Burning those calories.
Exactly. But the takeaway is that by adopting an evolutionary scientific mindset, we don't have to be victims of our biology or our history. We can be the generation that learns to actively study, measure, and adapt civilization rather than just passively repeating mistakes of the past.
It represents a profound shift in human consciousness, moving from seeing society as a heavy burden you merely inherit to seeing it as a dynamic project you actively seek to understand and refine.
So I want to ask you directly, look around your own life today. Look at the structures, the unwritten rules, the societal expectations you navigate every single day. What deeply ingrained systems or assumptions have you inherited that you've simply never questioned? What is the couch blocking the door in your own world?
And to build on that introspection, I want to leave you with a final thought that extends the core premise of our deep dive.
All right, let's hear it.
If we accept this paradigm shift, if human civilization is indeed an ongoing scientific experiment, and we, the people living in it, are the scientists running that experiment, then we have to ask, who gets to decide the metrics for a successful result?
Oh, that's a huge question.
It is. When we look at the raw data of our modern society, what exactly are we optimizing our experiment for? Are we structuring our laws and institutions to produce maximum financial wealth? Are we optimizing for genuine human happiness and fulfillment? Or are we, without even realizing it, simply optimizing for basic survival and the maintenance of the status quo?
That is a haunting and incredibly empowering question to end on. If you are going to re-examine the walls of the room you're standing in, you have to ask yourself what those walls were actually built to hold. Keep that question in the back of your mind as you navigate the world today. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you on the next one.